Hi, guys. I'm Dr. Jenny White, a dentist in Sarasota, Florida, and her fearless patient, Susan, with our podcast, Open Wide, Unfiltered Opinions Between a Dentist and Her Patient. Over the past 25 years or so, I've been sitting in a little room talking to myself all day, and I've gained a lot of wisdom through that process, which I want to share with you. We hope our podcast casts optimism and fearlessness to you so you can rise to the top, stay at the top, and dream bigger than you've ever imagined. So on today's podcast, the soup du jour is how to find joy in the midst of death. This one is deep and personal for both Susan and I, especially for Susan. I wish we had birth and rebirth at the end, but instead we've got birth and a death. And death, as my father said in his last days, he told me, Jenny, it's the natural evolution of things. He's so right, but it's so difficult. Susan, do you want to take this one?
Yeah, thanks, Jenny. I actually have a lot to say about this since I lost my husband to a bone marrow cancer 16 months ago. I've been in the throes of grief, and I've given a lot of thought and lived grief every single day since then. And so I have a couple of observations, but let me first start out by saying that anybody who is listening to this, who's going through grief, particularly in those early months, my heart goes out to you. It's very difficult, but I will tell you that it gets a little easier as time goes on. So hang in there. Things will get a little better. When my husband passed, I decided that I was going to look at grief a little bit differently, and that I was going to concentrate on what I had, not what I lost. And the second I made up my mind, my brain automatically shifted a little bit so that I could actually find joy in life. And part of the reason I decided to do that was witnessing a family member many years ago who had lost her husband in her mid-50s, and she literally shut down her entire life for the next 35 years. You couldn't call her on the anniversary of his death or his birthday. She was sad all the time. She was weeping all the time. And this goes on for 35 years. And I remember thinking to myself at the time, wow, that's not really a way to honor her husband. He would not have wanted her to shut her life down in this way, I wouldn't think. He'd want her to live a joyous life. And that's the best and most meaningful way to celebrate him. So that's what I've decided to do with grief, is to find the gratitude that I had this magnificent man in my life for 30 years, that we had a magnificent and beautiful and fun relationship, and not everybody gets that. And so how lucky am I to have had that? And so that mindset that I consciously decided to adopt really made a difference in how I think of and participate through grief, focusing on what I had, not what I lost. And that makes all the difference in the world. So I think that's my way of finding joy, isn't the right word, but finding a coping mechanism for getting through this difficult time.
And I have to say, I think my personal opinion on your story there, Susan, is to be able to have this view, not 16 months you said, 16 months out is a true miracle. And it's a test to your determination to want to turn your ship around.
Yeah, thank you.
That's fast,
in
my opinion.
Thank you. Determination, I think, is the right word. I was determined that the way I was going to honor him, continuously honor him, is to live my best and fullest life. Yeah.
Yeah. Getting a little spiritual on us all here. Ram Dass, the spiritual teacher, says that death is not something to fear, but a transformation and an illusion because we are eternal. He likens death to taking off a tight shoe, a release rather than an ending. He also describes it as a natural process, like selling the old family car when the body no longer serves. And then there's the famous Elisabeth Kaluber-Ross, who back in 1969 wrote a book on the 5 stages of grief. I think her book was called On Death and Dying. The 5 stages are denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. I can tell you a personal story from my end, a little it's not as recent as Susan's, but I lost 3 people in the span of 3 months at the end of 2019 and into 2020, and all the deaths were tragic. It wasn't an ordinary death. And I was told by all the ICU doctors that I was going to experience post-traumatic stress um, after what I had witnessed because I really lived in the ICU. I was right at the very, very, very beginning of COVID, so I could still go in the ICU and stay there. Um, I felt like for me, I had, after everybody had gone, I felt like I had one foot in death and one foot in life, and my life was busy. COVID was on a tear. My office had doubled, and it was in need of my attention right now. And I had to deal with an out of state death. I traveled most every weekend flying back and forth to West Virginia to handle what needed to be handled during COVID. I was the only one in the Atlanta airport. I'm telling you right now, it was eerie, but I had a strange fog in my head. I couldn't shake it. My tears were different. Like when I would cry over these deaths, it felt like Vaseline type tears. You know, when you know, they're like death tears, I call them. Nothing really felt important. I went through life going through the motions, but I'll be honest with you, paying the bills and arriving on time and working out, nothing really felt super important. I just lost both of my parents and my 18-year-old best friend, my dog Darla. It pretty much ripped my support system out from under me and it ripped my heart out. I got through it. I did what I needed to do, but I want to bring it back to my dental office. Um, I'm so thankful for my office. I work with the kindest, most professional, loving team you could ever imagine. I love going to work every day. It gives me purpose. It provided me the support I needed. And all of my patients, Susan, including you, especially you, you're just gems. I learned from everyone. This little office allowed me to get dressed every day, perform what I love to do every day, and feel loved every day during the lowest years of my lowest time of my life. And I want to thank each and every patient who gave me a hug or told me something really nice or who listened to me ramble about God knows what during that time. Anyway, for me, it was probably about 2 years out where I had to make a decision. I was either going to keep coming home from work, opening up a box of something that's bad for me, sitting in front of the TV and watching Netflix all night and gaining weight and feeling terrible about myself, or I was going to change it. And my father would not want to be responsible for me suffering. He would not want me to see myself as a sinking ship. So there wasn't a moment or a point or a specific timeline or anything like that, but just all of a sudden I decided to develop this little morning routine and I thought I've got to crawl out of this hole. I got to get myself back. And I literally started reading a Bible verse in the morning, jumping in the pool every morning, maybe one time a week. It wasn't anything drastic, but I just started. And now, after going through maybe 3 or 4 months of that, I developed a routine that I love, that I respect, that brings me so much joy, that has righted my ship. I realize how much more of a badass I am than I ever thought I was. I discovered a love inside of me and for other people that I've never felt before. My depth of compassion for people and what they've been through has tripled. And I love life. I love my life and I want to keep living and I want to do everything that I can do while I'm here, hence this podcast. And I would say, Susan, that is my joy in going through all those deaths, coming out the other end. But it took me a while. It wasn't as fast as you or anything like that. But I can honestly say I am happy and I am full of joy.
Yeah. I had probably a little bit more time to process that the death was coming than you did. We had 6 years of a diagnosis of bone marrow cancer, myelofibrosis. Which, by the way, let me just make a public service announcement. If you're 40 or under listening to this, please get swabbed and into a bone marrow registry. The Gift of Life is one. Be the Match is one. Your stem cells could save somebody's life. And if you're called to donate your stem cells because you are a match through the swab, then it's very simple. It's like giving blood. So please do that. So I had a little bit more time to process it maybe, Jenny, than you did. And that may be helpful. There's one other thing, though, that I think that's important to talk about in this subject, and that is that in America, in general, we don't really think about death, let alone talk about death. Instead, we talk about staying alive, through supplements and vitamins and revitalization and, everything else to try to stop death from coming. And yet it's coming to all of us, whether we like it or not. And I was struck by how in some countries they actually celebrate death. And I love that they do that. So, for example, the one that comes to mind for most people, I think, is in Mexico, where they have Day of the Death, particularly in Oaxaca, where they decorate graves and they get all dressed up themselves and they cook the ancestors' favorite food and they have music, and it's a real celebration of their ancestors and honoring the people that came before them. In Southeast Asia, particularly in China, Malaysia, Singapore, Philippines, in Taiwan and Vietnam, there's a celebration called Qingming, which is also the same kind of thing, is dedicated to worshiping the ancestors that came before them. This was started 2,500 years ago, and they devote a day every year to this sort of thing. Again, a real celebration of who came before them. In Japan, there's the Oban Festival. It happens over 3 days. This is where they believe the ancestral spirits come back and actually visit with the relatives. I think it's very sweet. It gives
Very cool.
Yeah, it gives me a smile. And they celebrate that with joy. It's a joyous occasion. They have music and food and so forth. Same thing in Bali. They do something similar. In a lot of South African countries, they do something similar. So my point is that in these countries, they actually celebrate death and they honor their ancestors. And they teach the young children about who these ancestors were that came before them. And I think that is a joyous, positive, wonderful thing to do in a way to, quote, celebrate death, which is an odd combination of words. But I think it goes a long way to a healthy thinking about death and dying.
I couldn't agree more. And the only reason that I looked at death and really analyzed death and went deep into reading and the grief process, et cetera, was because of a terminal diagnosis. My mother was told, basically, go home, you have 6 months, and you'll be dead. Okay, so with that being said, I got to get really clear really quickly on death.
Yeah.
And I think if our culture had opened my eyes to death prior to that, it wouldn't have been such a shock.
Right.
Like a hard, cold slap.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point.
But looking back at it, I am very thankful. I am very thankful.
Yeah. When my husband died, a couple of days before he died, I had to help him to the restroom. And as I'm helping carry him to the restroom, he stopped and he said, "Let's dance." And in the middle of the hallway, we had a dance, which was really the last sort of physical thing we did as a couple, was to have this dance. So when I had the celebration of life for him, I made everybody get up and dance. And this is a story that could bring like real tears to your eyes. You could be sobbing about it, or you could be like, wow, that's the coolest. That's so joyful, because I'm remembering a beautiful moment that we had together in a joyful kind of a way. So it's just a little bit of a twist on how you look at things and how you think about things.
I don't think there's any avoiding grief. I think you have to go through it. I definitely agree. This Elisabeth Kaluber-Ross and her 5 stages of grief, I believe in them. I'll run through them really fast. Denial, like the initial shock, disbelief, overwhelming grief, anger, feelings of rage or resentment, sometimes at the medical people, sometimes at your loved ones, bargaining, attempting to bargain with a higher power for more time, depression, deep sadness and grief, and acceptance, peaceful knowledge of the reality of death. I don't think there's any getting over that, but what you did there with the dance is magical.
Yeah, it was magical. But I'll also make another point, too, which is that we had a very good support system in the doctors that he worked with. And we had one doctor out of Dana-Farber. Her name is Jacqueline Garcia. And I will never forget her as long as I live, because she said to us, she knew this was a fatal and serious diagnosis unless we could find a bone marrow transplant, which we never did. But she said to us, "What's your bucket list? Show me your bucket list." So we showed her the bucket list, and she said, "Okay, this you can do, this you can do, this you can do, this you can do. don't do this unless you talk to me first. And that, you know what I mean? She was very, very supportive about, let's get on the bucket list now, folks. Let's get stuff done. And she supported us every single step of the way. And so when you have the support network that you referred to earlier in the podcast, it makes all the difference in the world. It really does, because you realize, okay, I can do these things and people are going to support us.
Speaking of supporting, Susan, do you have an uplifting, faith-filled, supportive cocktail for me to drink right now?
Yeah. I'm not sure about the faith-filled part of it, but yes, we do have something that we can celebrate. And the name of the drink that we're going to have today is Know That You Are Loved. I know. So let me prepare it.
Okay.
Okay, so we are going to honor the people that we talked about in today's podcast on death with a drink called Know That You Are Loved. So let's cheers to
that. Cheers.
The people that we've lost and the people that we loved, and cheers.
And the people that we currently love.
Yeah. So this is lemon vodka, orange juice, and some bitters, but I didn't have bitters, so I used a little bit of Aperol. What? It tastes good. What's that face for?
Holy! I'm sorry. My cup is full of vodka. This is a whole lot of vodka with a touch of something.
Orange juice.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's lemon vodka, so
it's good.
Yeah,
it's good. If you like vodka, this is good.
Yeah. Okay. Good. And then I also have a tip of the day. Should we do it now or should we do it later?
I love tips of the day. Let's do it.
Okay. This tip comes from Tom.
BHT Tom?
Yeah, your better your
better half.
Better half Tom.
Yes.
Who knew that recently when I was in rural part of the United States.
West Virginia?
No, it was in rural New England. And so he and you sent me this tip on how to kill weeds in the garden. So I figured that was sort of appropriate for today's podcast, right? So it's 1 gallon of vinegar, 2 cups of Epsom salt, and 1/4 cup of Dawn dish soap, which I used something else, and it also worked. And it killed the weeds.
Really?
Yeah. Now, here's the thing, though. This recipe, did Tom grow up in like a farm or something? You could kill a whole pasture with this 1 gallon of vinegar, 2 cups of Epsom salt.
Tom is a city boy.
Okay.
He is a city guy.
Anyway,
I don't know how he came up with this.
It came from his grandmother, he said in the email you sent me. Anyway, thank you, Tom. It definitely worked, and I have plenty more for when I go back there to kill more weeds.
And now Susan does not have a yard.
Oh, I do. This is the reason why it came in so helpful. Yeah.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
I will definitely let him know that the tip worked.
Yeah, we're great.
Yeah. So any parting comments, Susan, as far as our topic on finding joy in death? Because I feel like we've done a pretty good circumnavigation of this topic.
Yeah. My only parting comment is that, look, none of us are getting out of here alive. So we need to get a grip on what's ahead for us and plan for it.
Yeah.
And by the way, planning for it could mean sitting with your family and talking about, what you want your last wishes are. Fill out one of those books that, tells what your last wishes are. And get everybody prepared, like where to find the bank accounts, that sort of thing. That's just practical stuff that everybody should do. And people, I find, shy away from doing it because, it's many years from now, or, I don't need to worry about it right now, but we all need to worry about it right now. And the other thing I would say is that if you could find a way to figure out a way to be grateful for what you had in your life, the people who were in your life, the joy that they brought you, and celebrate that every day, it's just going to make the grieving process a little bit easier.
I don't have anything else to add. That's perfect. That's absolutely perfect. And, looking at getting all of your affairs in order, I know it's an additional expense to see an attorney to line it up, but if that's the route you're going to do, it's so valuable and it brings so much peace of mind to have everything together and have people know where the stuff is so that if something happens to you, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's still going to be complicated, but it's less complicated. And you're actually making it a lot easier for the people that need to handle things by lining things up ahead of time. Yeah. So yes, it's an added expense, but I feel it's really worth it. Really worth it. But no, I have nothing else to add. I think this was, I thought this was going to be a downer of a podcast, and I feel uplifted. Maybe it's the vodka. I'm not sure.
Well, hopefully it's the idea that you don't have to be down all the time about. There's going to be periods of time when you're down. I had a grandmother who lived to be 104, and she would set a timer for 10 minutes every day to be sad. And 10 minutes was up. That was it. She was not going to be sad again until the next day. Now, I'm not advocating that. I know, but that is pretty cool, don't you think? Yeah, she lived to be 104.
Well, I'm going to live to 125, so I got to get a timer.
Yeah, there you go.
You guys, let's raise our glass and let's toast to rising to the top together.
And to the people that we loved and lost.
Staying at the top together and dreaming bigger than we have ever imagined together. We love you. And if you liked this episode, please click the subscribe button and share with family and friends. And this is a very heart-filled wrap. We thank you for listening and hope you enjoyed this podcast. If you did, please share this show with friends and family and subscribe to our YouTube channel. This way, you'll never miss weekly drops. Stay strong, dream big, and floss your teeth.